Hello friend and welcome. Lovely to see you again. Got a little bit of a treat for you today. Something slightly different. This guy here, Dr. Ozone ASMR. I was watching one of his videos recently and was observing his hand and thought, wow, it's so curious. Got all these extra lines and bits I haven't seen before. So I thought I'll do some palm reading. So I'll start with the shape of the hand. It's not conical, doesn't start off thin here and then get fatter. In fact, that and that are almost parallel. So he definitely has a square hand. He, by the way, is named Oliver. So Oliver has a square hand. A square hand is the useful hand. The shape belongs to individuals who need to be needed. Interesting. They have a logical pattern to their thinking and usually have good mechanical sense. They are often very busy physically. And I always feel like that parallelness of the hand there adds to the logicalness of it. So then if we move on to the fingertips, there's 4 different types. You've got pointed fingertips. Mine might be pointed. See how it just kind of tapers in like that? That would be pointed. You've got conical fingertips, square fingertips, and spatulate fingertips. Now it's almost slightly spatulate. There is a little bit of a point on this one, but for the most part his fingers are parallel to each other. So I'm going to go with square. Square fingertips means you like to lead a simple life with simple pleasures, excellent workers who are always able to make money easily and do so well in the field of business. They're also scrupulously fair in their approach in dealing with others. Well, I wonder if he would agree. But I think that's a fair assessment. Now we could do the thickness of the hand, but from this angle I can't actually see it. So I'm going to go with some more thicker hand, and I'd say it's a relatively soft hand. Usually artists, poets, musicians who like to dream and ponder. Again, I wonder if he'd agree with that. If we move on to the size of the hand, I'd say that it's a large hand. People with large hands have surprising aptitude for doing fiddly things with great patience, and may use this talent to earn their living. Fascinating, considering he has an ASMR channel where he uses his hands. It's quite expressive with those hands. They have excellent analytical talents, are mentally strong and good-natured. I don't know this man personally, but he definitely seems good-natured to me. They can usually be found figuring out detailed projects and pursuing hobbies. Moving on to reading the palm, I'll just explain to you a couple of things that caught my attention, which made me want to do this reading in the first place. He has an interesting half moon here. He has this line that goes across there and one up here. This is fascinating. I look forward to seeing what I find out about this line. This is his lifeline. Fascinating little branch off here, coming back in the direction of the younger years, young to old. He's got a parallel line here, again, very different and intriguing. He's got a line that comes off here. Generally the finance line comes up the hand, and you can see we have the finance line coming this way. And he's got this intersection here that touches the lifeline, plus this parallel part there. Again, very intriguing lines. Plus this little V off the end of this one. So this is the heart line here, and that's the head line here. A deep heart line generally represents being ruled by the heart. If this line is deeper than this line, you're ruled by the heart and not your head. He's got a very deep line here, so I'd say they're almost equal in their representation, except this line, the heart line, does look slightly deeper. But the headline again is fascinating because it comes this way, it branches into a fork. Very unusual. So let's start with the lifeline. This one coming across here. Generally what you'll find with lifelines, lots of crisscrosses and bits and pieces. Now unfortunately this is just a printout, so it's very difficult for me to see any kind of real detail here. I do see some sort of slight deviations and things, but that's very common in younger years. You've got kinder, primary school, secondary school, perhaps university, apprenticeships, etc. Lots of changes in our early years. Very stereotypical of most people. Then we usually become more steady as we go along, with a few little interjections. So what I'm not seeing is islands. I mean, I guess this could be one, hard to say. what we do have is this fascinating branch backwards. Let's see if I can determine what's that about. What I can say is here, these lines coming up the thumb, two parallel ones of that, they're signs of loyalty. It shows that Oliver's quite a loyal person, loyal to family and friends. Very likely a man of integrity. A lifeline close to the thumb, which generally it is, does almost reach to the middle of the hand. So it indicates a person who wants to achieve great things and break new ground. Has a keen sense of adventure and a want to travel. So that's what this line here, coming out as far as it does, says. Usually a double lifeline, any line that's parallel. Can represent a guardian angel. Or living a double life. I wouldn't say it's a twin line because a twin line tends to be the whole way. This is only parallel towards the end, which definitely could suggest somebody looking after him in his older age, such as a guardian angel. And this line here, even though it doesn't quite come off the lifeline, it is in the area that suggests success. So if a line veers upwards towards the mount of the sun, which is here, this indicates good fortune and maybe a sign of fame. Fascinating considering his line of work. And so this is the point of Saturn. And here's the point of the sun. So it's definitely leaning towards this and not that. Doesn't seem to show that Oliver has many horizontal lines this way, which suggests to me he's not prone to worrying, stressing, having anxiety about things that have or have not happened, or may not happen. When you have a headline that is separate to other lines, it can show great independence, but the fact that there are other lines of it is not quite pointing towards that. When the line dips, which this does. The headline that forms an arch dipping downwards to the palm indicates a very sensitive individual with highly developed intuition, imaginative, perhaps a little bit eccentric. It may lead them to artistic pursuits and into professions that are about caring for others. So that's what this dip represents. And then of course he has a branch here. When a headline divides into two-pronged ending, it indicates a person who has great communication skills, as in a good public speaker. They may work in radio and television, in this case YouTube. Can be actors, singers, somewhat in the limelight, which is very apt. Moving on to the heart line, there's a possible island. Again, I can't see with a lot of clarity, but we can see that it dips up towards the pointer finger. This indicates a potentially dominant and demanding person. Now we might see those words as a negative, but it can also be a confident person. They express their emotions bluntly. Will have a very contented family life. They keep family members close to them, physically and within their heart. Usually a sign of being successful in love. They like to have attention from their loved ones, and perhaps can give of themselves somewhat easily. Now his headline doesn't fork, though technically this could be a fork, because we might wonder, does this line fork off here or fork off there? I would say it forks this way, but does touch the heart line, which links the head and the heart together, which again, as I mentioned earlier, the depth of lines here are very similar, so it may be that this person is quite balanced, not being ruled by either head or heart, but having a good balance between both. It can also indicate being both happy at home and at work. Now the fate line, or what I've always called the finance line, they tend to be related. If you've got good fate, you tend to have good finances, but not always necessarily. The fate line runs up the centre of the hand. And in this case, it's really quite an interesting fate line. So for a starter here, you can see that the lifeline branches out towards the fate line. So looking at the fate line here, it's got a good little curve, a crisscross, good interjection. I wouldn't say it's a very straight fate line. It does have some softer and deeper points, which are not so much breaks. But could be breaks. Breaks in the fate line indicates changes in lives and careers, and perhaps never become fully involved in a specific career. But as I say, they're not 100% breaks, they're just lighter, so maybe goes through periods of wondering and pondering about career paths. Here's a little bit lighter again. It's fascinating the way that it dips out this way. Generally speaking, the fate line is quite steady all the way up, which is a good indication of good fate and good fortune. So short lines veering upwards, which we do have a few little bits here. So it comes this way. Indicate positive influences from other people. He doesn't have any feathering downwards, so he's not getting a whole lot of negativity, more positive vibes coming. I think I even see a line here. Interesting. But let me stick to the fate line. So all up I can see that he has good strong lifeline, fate line, fortune. I get the sense that he won't have a huge amount of money struggles, finance line. He's got a good life ahead of him. And not necessarily a whole lot of struggles in his future. Fairly standard actually, which is a good sign. It's nice and long, with no clear breaks, just softened parts. Now if we go back to this line here, a line that veers away from the thumb and up to this point, is a good indication, it's a good omen, especially if the individual works in the public eye. It indicates public prestige, prosperity and fame. So that's interesting, this line here. It suggests fame. And again, we've touched on that, so it's kind of a reoccurring theme. This one here, coming down, fate line interjecting. It's all a good sign. When the lines interject like that, such as the lifeline hitting the fate line, the fame line hitting the fate line, they're very good indications of good things to come. So when we come to things like markings, things like X's, V's, crosses are a sign of more significance and longer lasting problems, such as a divorce or a loss of job or home. On the lifeline, a cross may indicate non-fatal accident in early life. 2 crosses may indicate individual who is serious and willing to learn. Crosses at the end of a lifeline indicate poverty or ill health. So in this case, the cross is on the finance line and the lifeline touches it. So this can indicate a couple of things. It can indicate that around this area here, he's got kind of 2 fates. And this could be generally a dramatic event, a life-changing event. So it could be potential ill health, passing away of a loved one, perhaps a diversion in career or direction, and one of those veers off to the lifeline where there's a cross. So this can indicate quite a serious event occurring later in life. Generally with the lifeline, it's kind of like 10, 20, 30, and then it's 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 sort of thing. So it spreads out as you get older. So we're talking around 60s. Could even indicate retirement. Generally people have signs of that type of thing up in this area. Retirement, moves, you downsize in houses and such. Children leave home, you've got new options. A fork in a major line shows an increase possibilities of success, love or career. So this fork here, even though it branches upwards as opposed to generally forks come this way, this shows a major increase in success in life, love, work, career. So something significant's going to happen around this age. Let's say we're talking mid-30s to mid-40s. Something quite significant. Career change, marriage, although suggesting he's already married here by the ring, but something significant here happens in either love or work. And again, we've got a little bit of a branch off here as well as there. So again here, if you've got your headline and it forks this way, that suggests an interesting divergence in the direction that he's going. Now his lines are not clear enough for me to see any kind of significant markings like stars or islands. Islands are where you sort of temporarily diverge 2 directions. You can either go this way or that way, kind of like that train movie with Gwyneth Paltrow. But I'm not seeing a lot of islands. It's very difficult to see from this image. Can't quite see dots. There could be a few little crisscrosses and things happening here, but the image is slightly blurry, so I can't quite see. A potential small island there, but again, not clear enough for me to tell. Feathering cross. Yeah, so nothing really significant by way of indecisiveness or extra directions. So if there was an island, it just means that your energy is going in two directions or is spent on two things at the same time. But again, I'm not seeing a lot of that here. Mostly lots of forks on his hand. Many forks. You can even see a little bit here. Lots of forks. So now I'll have a look at some of the lines that are a little bit different and unique to individual people. I'm not so much seeing the girdle of Venus, but there is a hint of it, and I believe I saw it on his other hand as well. And this is typical of a person who is highly empathetic and feels other people's sorrows and pains and likes to take that pain away, make them feel good. So as I say, it's not very prominent here, but I know that I've seen it in amongst his movements. There's no significant lines here, no line of Mars. Nothing specific there. No ring of Saturn or ring of Solomon. I see a faint union line here, and I say faint simply because the photocopy doesn't quite show it, and it seems to be one. This suggests that Oliver gets into one serious relationship and maintains that, which is always nice, I think. You can see in this area here, if I show you on my hand, you can see it's quite deep. This indentation in a hand is called the plane of Mars. And the depth of that has its own indications. So if we look at this hand here, we can see that his is quite prominent. And what this would suggest is that people who have this are always trying to help others. Generally highly sensitive to other people's feelings. They feel other people's pain quite personally, quite deeply, and make strong efforts not to hurt or upset others. If it's really indented, which mine is, it can usually mean depression, because you feel so strongly for other people. Most of us will have depression on and off in our lives, and thankfully all of us doesn't seem too deep, just the right amount of empathy. It's not shallow either, which is also a good sign. If we look at the side of the palm here, what we see here is an indentation in the palm. If his finger was straighter, we would still have this little indentation there. This suggests that Oliver is nearly always busy with a very active social life, ever the perfectionist, always searching for a way, the best ways to achieve. And generally physically attractive. That's interesting because he is a nice looking fella. It might be a little hard to see from a photocopy. I don't have his actual hand in front of me to really be able to move it around and have a look. But what I can see here is this mound and this mound are more higher than these two, which are quite concaved, and that's a general thing that a lot of people have. But you can see, for example, on mine, I'm pudgy there and pudgy there, whereas his sunken in there, see? Slightly different. So, Mount of Jupiter. Prominent mounts of Jupiter, they usually have good bone structure, good height, attractive physique, stately walks, large deep set eyes. He definitely has large deep set eyes. Lovely straightened nose, full mouth. If you have a prominent mound of Jupiter, it can suggest some digestive problems and potential struggles with weight, which can affect us later in life. Possibly indicates a love for eating out and spending money. But also loves peace and law and order and somewhat conservative. Prominent mount of Mercury. Again, generally indicates good bone structure, looking younger for longer, usually have large hands, long thumbs, very strong constitution. Can suggest some issues with liver and digestive issues. Again, this can be during childhood, but quite often later in life. Possible nervous temperament. Also suggests quick of thought. Skillful at mathematics, medicine, business, that type of thing. Great judges of human character, usually even-tempered, loves closeness of family and enjoyment of others brings them joy. So that's what Oliver's mounts say about him. So generally, a well-balanced individual, clever, empathetic, good at what he does, knows where he wants to go, where he wants to be, works hard to achieve that, keeps family and friends close, loves hard and deeply, cares about others, and has high empathy. So yeah, that's me reading Ozone ASMR Oliver's Hand. It'll be interesting to know from him how potentially accurate this reading is. And as I said, I really wanted to work on this hand and have a read of it, because I just find the lines so curious, so different. This one, that one, the branching, the extra branching, crossing of fate lines with life lines. It's such an interesting and unique hand. And even this, I wonder. Yes, it's a curious line. It can be a sign of potential loss. Maybe somebody close, maybe close to Grandpa who passed away, something like that, because I notice I don't have that, so it's very unique to him. Anyway, that's me reading his poem. Hopefully you found this somewhat enjoyable. And I really thank you for coming to sit with me today. I really needed your company and greatly appreciate it.